Ladies and gentlemen, now we go discuss JavaScript functions. Functions na the backbone of any programming languages and na the backbone of JavaScript. Because the reason why we dey use functions for programming na because say na dem we dey take avoid writing the same things over and over and over again. Writing long code every time we want do something. But with programming, the very essence of programming, the reasons why we even use programming do so many things today, and because say programming they help us find smart way to do things instead of wasting time and effort. Programming go simplify and it go automate them so that it go dey more effective. And na functions they make these possible. Now, functions I dey always tell people now like machines. You could take in different raw materials so that all the raw materials go come out as finished product. Understanding functions at first fit dey tricky, especially for people who just they learn programming from scratch. So I want make you pay special attention to this part of our lesson. Myself, I could try my best to explain everything as simply as possible. So first, I will begin with how we dey write simple function for JavaScript. Say we get plenty numbers and we want multiply these numbers by 10. Now the thing we want do because we just want multiply them by 10. We fit write all our numbers out and we fit dey multiply them one by one. Or we fit do something smart. We fit write function which say if we take in any number and multiply them by 10 for us. So instead of writing the same expression every time we want multiply something by 10, we go just use the function do am for us. So for this first number as my example, instead of writing 200 times 10, I go put an inside a function. So now like this with the right function for JavaScript, you go first write the keyword function. Then you go write the name of your function. Just like we dey give our variables names, we dey also give our functions names. So I go name this my function, multiply. But after the name of your functions, you must always put this open and close brackets. This one dey very important. No forget to open and close brackets after you write the name of your function. Like how the computer go know say na function you dey write be this. Then after the open and close brackets, you go open another kind of bracket, which is curly brackets or curly braces. Now for inside these curly brackets, now you could write anything what you want make your function do. The logic of your function, now with the column. So now inside here, the logic could dey. So what do you want to use our function do? You want to use our multiply numbers by 10. So first we go begin by writing a number, add coding one number inside 200. So we go write 200 times 10. Now waiting our function to do with that. But now we don't write our function. You normally see our function go run here to no. For programming, writing functions, they're different from declaring functions. If you write this code we write, it just means say you don't write your function, but you no go do anything. Your program no go run this function until you call the functions. And like this, we dey call functions for JavaScript. We go write the name of the function we want call and the open and close bracket of the function. We go write them on your own line. If you write them like this, that simply means say you don't call your function. So writing your function alone, declaring it, is not the same. Once you write them, you must eventually call them. Sometimes you go want to write your function, just write them down. You never use them. Then later in your code, you uncall that function. Or if you write them and immediately call them. Now anyone really you want to do, they accepted. But you must call this function like this to activate them. Now, if we call our multiply function, wetin you go do now say it go multiply 200 by 10. But just because say our function don't do something, you normally say it go return the value to us. If you call this function, you just dey tell them to multiply 200 by 10. And we go do them for the background, but you no go surely say I don't do anything. You no go give you any value because you not ask for value. And the thing with programming with that, you must give the computer instructions, and that the instructions will give and it go follow. You no go do wetin you no ask him to do. So you ask him to multiply 200 by 10, but you no say give me this result. Then he no go give you your result. To make sure say e give you your result, we go use the return keyword. So instead of just writing 200 times 10, we go come write return 200 times 10. So when we call this function for here, go just multiply 200 times 10. E go give us the value back, and we fit can use this value do anything we want. So if we console.log this function call, e go return the answer to us and show am for our console. But before we will just multiply am, e no go show am for your console. And your result inside your function, you fit also save am inside a variable. So instead of saying return 200 times 10, we go say let result equal to 200 times 10. Then we go come return result, wey be the product of this 200 times 10 we don save inside our result variable. We go come return the result variable. So if we still console.log am, when we call am, e go still return our value. Na the same thing we dey do, but we just dey do am in a different way. And then after you call your function, the result wey comot, you fit come save am inside a variable outside of the function again. That is, if you want save that value to use am again, you fit save am by the normal way we would save variable. But you could just say let your variable equal to this function call, because say this function call go return the value, and then the value go save inside our variable. Now, even though we don't write our function to multiply 200 times 10, this one no mean say our code makes sense, because this code as V like this, e no make any sense. Why you dey write function just to multiply 200 times 10? Anytime when you call this function, now the same thing e go dey do over and over again. No be why we dey write function be that. We dey write function to make our life dey easier. We need to make sure say this function fit multiply any number by 10, not just 200. And to do this, I go introduce you to wetin we dey call arguments. In functions, arguments like we dey use make our code dey flexible, not just in JavaScript, but in all programming languages. For JavaScript, we get specific way we will take the write our argument. We dey write our argument inside this bracket where I tell you say you must open after your function name. Your bracket fit be empty if your function no collect any argument, but most functions they collect argument. So you go write a variable name inside these brackets when you dey declare your function. You fit use any name for your argument, it no really matter. So for our argument, we go use A. So now inside our curly braces where we get 200, we go write A. So wetin this new function they do now, na say e dey multiply A times 10 instead of 200. Will we add code inside them? We dey make am more flexible by saying any argument wey the users give you, na in make you multiply it by 10. So now it fit multiply any number by 10, not just 200 like before. But now we don't get our arguments for you. How we go take supply the number when we want multiply? Well, you go do one when you dey call the function. At the point where we dey call our function, since this function now don't start to dey take in arguments, we must supply arguments. And for our function, since that one A we write for here, we dey talk say na only one argument our function they collect. So once we call this our multiply function, we go supply a number inside this bracket, and this number na im go represent our A. So na im go be wetin we go multiply by 10. We fit use 100. If we call the multiply with 100, that means say you go multiply 100 by 10. And if we call the function with 200 as our argument, you go multiply 200 by 10. Now our function don't dey flexible, because we fit call am with any number, and we fit use and multiply any number by 10, and it will give us the right result wey we fit save inside another variable. Now, what I mean by saying our function go save us a dig, and you go make our program dey very effective, so that we no go need to repeat the same thing over and over again. We fit make our function even better. We fit make our function better by saying, okay, we don't even need you to multiply any number by 10. No, We wan make you dey more effective so that you go fit multiply any number by any number, not just 10. So as we do before, we will give am one argument of A. Now we go give am two arguments, A and B. Remember, I tell you, this name of the variables we will dey put inside our argument, e fit be anything. You fit write goat and dog as your argument, and it go do the same thing as long as you use am right inside your function. So if we make this argument goat, that means say this A times 10, it must be goat times 10. But still the same thing with the talk, say any argument wey we provide at the point of calling this function as our first argument, mine go represent this goat. And then if we write our second argument as dog, anything wey we use dog do inside this function, na the second argument wey we provide for our function call, na you must use in the place of that dog. So now we will use our A and B. We go all put that inside our curly braces as A times B instead of A times 10. So now our function don dey more robust. If we multiply any first argument wey we supply with the second argument, so you don't necessarily need to multiply am by 10. No. Now you don dey more versatile. If we put for our function called 10 and 10, that means we dey multiply 10 by 10. And if we put 200 and 10, we dey multiply 200 times 10. But now we fit also put other things in the second argument. We fit put 1,000, we fit put 10,000. So if we put 2 and 1,000, that means we dey multiply 2 times 1,000. We fit put 2 and 3 to multiply 2 times 3. So now you see say our function don better pass the previous one. And inside your function, you fit get so many logics. There's no limit. So imagine say you dey try just with one number, you want add 10, then later you want divide 2, then later you want multiply 1,000. Anything we want to do inside your function, if you write that inside this function, and then next time we want use them with any number, you could just write one line of code instead of rewriting the logic inside your function over and over and over again for every single number. So now you don't see how we dey take use functions make our life dey easier for programming. We fit use our functions to do any operation on any data type. I know say for our example, we dey use and do mathematics on numbers, but e no just dey limited to mathematics. We fit use and do something to our strings or our arrays. We fit use and convert all our strings, for instance, to lowercase. We fit use and manipulate any data. And also our functions, we get more than one argument, more than two arguments, and even more than 3 arguments. But like I said, nature say you use them correctly inside your functional logic, inside these curly braces. If you want make argument dey optional for your function, you also fit do am. So this one means say, okay, our function fit collect argument, but just in case we not give you any argument where we call am, is still dey acceptable. Before we complete our functions lesson, make I quickly tell you something about scope. What we dey call scope for programming. Scope simply means say which part of our code na in our variables go work. Usually you fit define variables in one of two places. For example, if we look at this our example code, we see that we declare one variable outside our function and we declare one variable inside our function. This variable we will declare outside our function for our main code area, na we dey call global variable. This global variable, it get global scope. And what this one mean? I say we fit use them anywhere in our program and it go work even inside a function. So if we declare a variable here outside and then you want to use the variable inside this function, we fit also use them. We fit console log them, we fit change in value, we fit modify them, we fit do anything to them. But if you declare variable inside this function, this one no be global scope. Now what we dey call local scope, and it means say you fit only access and use this variable really declare inside this function. If you only use an within the function, if you try access an or use an outside your function, it no go work because to your computer, this variable no exist outside the function. If you attempt to console log am, it will just give you error say this variable no exist.